Today, we're diving into the psychology of color. It's this silent force that influences your decisions, your mood, and your emotions every single day. And honestly, most of the time, you probably don't even notice it's happening.
So let's just start with a really simple question. Can the color you wear or the color of a logo you see actually change how people think or feel or even what they do? Well, the answer is a lot more complex and way more interesting than you might think.
You know, color is basically a universal language. We all speak it without saying a word. It's one of the very first things our brain processes about a person or an environment, and it can shape our emotions, guide our decisions, and even cause physical reactions, like making our heart beat faster.
Now, we all have these ideas in our heads about what colors mean, right? They come from our culture, from marketing, from traditions we've grown up with. These are the popular meanings, the ones we see all around us.
I mean, think about red. It's the color of extremes. It can mean intense passion and love, but it also screams danger and urgency. It's so potent that just seeing it can actually speed up our metabolism and increase our breathing. It's a color that's biologically pretty much impossible to ignore. And then you've got blue. It's like a clear sky or a calm sea, right? We associate it with stability and peace. And that is exactly why you see it everywhere with banks, tech companies, and hospitals. They want to project this feeling of calm, of trustworthiness. And of course, green. Its connection to nature is just undeniable. It symbolizes growth, harmony, renewal, and health. It's a color that's actually been shown to be restful for our eyes, creating a real calming effect on our minds. So red means passion, blue means trust. Case closed, right? Easy. Well, not so fast. Because when you look at the actual science, there is a much, much deeper story going on here. And here's the absolute key to understanding all of this. A color's meaning isn't fixed. The real science of color psychology shows that its effect on us depends almost entirely on the situation. In other words, it is all about context. This is all summed up perfectly by what researcher Andrew J. Elliott calls the color in context theory. And what it says is that how we respond to a color is this mix of our biology, these deep-seated reactions, and what we've learned to associate with it. And that combination, it changes completely depending on where and when we see the color. Okay, here's the theory in action. Let's stick with the color red. In school, in an achievement context, seeing red ink all over your exam, that triggers feelings of failure and danger. But take that exact same shade of red and put it on a dress in a romantic context, suddenly it can trigger feelings of attraction and romance. Same color, totally different meaning. That's context. So while a lot of the pop psychology claims you hear about color are really just stories, rigorous scientific studies have found some consistent, repeatable effects, but only when that context is carefully controlled. And these are some of the big ones, findings supported by 5 or more independent labs, which is a big deal in science. For example, researchers have repeatedly found that in certain contexts, red can increase attraction. But in other contexts, viewing red right before a test can actually hurt your performance. Meanwhile, blue light has been shown to boost alertness, and blue logos consistently make people rate a brand as more trustworthy. See how specific these are? It's not just blue is calm. But we have to be honest here. Getting these kinds of definitive answers is incredibly difficult. For researchers, color psychology is a uniquely tricky field to get right. I mean, scientists face huge challenges. They can't just show someone blue. They have to control the exact shade, its lightness, its intensity. They have to account for the lighting in the room, and they need a ton of participants to get reliable results. And that's not even getting into the massive cultural differences. Think about it. The color white means purity and weddings in many Western cultures, but it's a color of mourning in some Eastern cultures. It's just never as simple as it looks. This quote from Andrew Elliott, the researcher behind the color in context theory, really says it all. He's cautioning that the field is still pretty young. The science is exciting, but it's really just getting started. So we have to be careful about making these big, bold claims about what colors do. Okay, so we've got the popular beliefs over here and the much more complicated scientific reality over there. So what does all of this actually mean for you? How do you use this in your own life? Well, the big takeaway here isn't that all those common ideas about color are fake or wrong. They're not. It's just that they're incomplete. The real key is understanding that their meanings are flexible. They bend and shift depending entirely on the situation. So here's a smarter way to think about it. First, acknowledge the common idea. Sure, we all think red means energy. Second, analyze the specific context. Is this a stop sign or a Valentine's Day card? Third, apply what we actually know from the research. And finally, just appreciate the nuance. It's almost never black and white.
And that really brings us to the final thought. Now that you know that context is everything, it kind of changes how you see the world, doesn't it? The next time you pick a color to wear or react to the color of a room, you'll know there's always more to the story.